Hello Marvel fans, welcome to my channel. Today's video is all about the German acrobat and leader of the mutant team Excalibur, Nightcrawler. Kurt Wagner, aka Nightcrawler, has become one of the most enduringly popular characters in the X-Men universe. Whether it's his distinctive look, his charming antics, or just his cool powers, we're always happy to see more of the German acrobat. So here are some fun facts about Nightcrawler that only comic book fans might know about. Number 1. The demon Azazel is his father. Azazel holds a special place among the horrible dads of Marvel, as he set out to specifically impregnate women in order to establish a link between his dimension, the Brimstone dimension, and Earth 616. Unfortunately for Mystique, Azazel was able to seduce her and use her for just this purpose. Fortunately for the rest of the world, however, the product of this union was Nightcrawler. Number 2. Strange limits of his teleportation. Because he is linked to his father in the Brimstone dimension, Nightcrawler's teleportation ability has some rather abnormal limitations. First, and likely the most important, is that when Nightcrawler teleports, what he's actually doing is traveling through the Brimstone dimension and then popping out in a predetermined position in his own dimension. This happens so fast that for a long time, Nightcrawler wasn't even aware he was doing it. It's also easier for him to travel north and south along the Earth's magnetic fields than it is east and west. He can typically max out at 3 miles north to south and 2 miles when moving east to west and vice versa. Next in number 3. Almost a pope once. Nightcrawler's Catholic beliefs have evolved into one of his most distinguishing features over time. It most likely began as an ironic juxtaposition between this devilish-looking figure and his devotion to the holy life. But some interpretations have him living such a religious life that he gives Wolverine a Bible with passages marked out to help Logan with his inner conflicts. In the X-Men films, Nightcrawler even shows a more fanatical side, having gotten into self-scarification, or as he puts it, one for every sin. Kurt's beliefs ultimately leads to a narrative in which he becomes a Catholic priest. It turns out that his beliefs are being used against him, as he subsequently discovers that he was given that role as part of a scheme to depose the Pope and be dubbed as the Antichrist after the world sees their Pope's demonic look. Number 4. The Bamfs. The Bamf sound effect has become synonymous with the sound of Nightcrawler's teleportation, but something the X-Men movies haven't shown yet is that Bamfs are also the name of living creatures. Nightcrawler's exploits eventually lead him to meet the Bamfs, an imp-like race that resembles miniature copies of him. Their mischievous demeanor and apparent connection to Nightcrawler eventually pave the path for another discovery in Kurt's life, this time bringing everything back to Azazel. Azazel is mutant Satan, so it's only natural that he'd have minions to help him carry out his evil plans. The Bamfs are real creatures from hell who join Azazel after he discovers them and raises them with his own blood. When Nightcrawler discovers the nature of the Bamfs and what his father intends to do with them, attack heaven, he convinces them to work against Azazel instead. The Bamfs' transformation from evil is so complete that it alters their skin color from Azazel's red to Nightcrawler's blue. So Nightcrawler defeated his father while also gaining a slew of new allies. Not too shabby. In number 5, he has no soul. Poor Kurt Wagner. For a guy who values his faith so much, he sure does have it tested a lot. First, he looks like the spawn of Satan. Then he finds out he literally is. Then he finds out people would only want him as Pope so he could fulfill the role of the Antichrist. And to top it all off, he loses his immortal soul. Kurt appeared to be one of those rare heroes who died and never resurfaced. We saw him in heaven, resting after conflicts with robots and other mutants. Even in paradise, Kurt wasn't free to relax. Azazel's connection to his father allowed Nightcrawler to teleport through Azazel's universe, and Azazel shared that link, allowing him to travel to his son's location. And what else would the mutant equivalent of Satan like to do than to attack heaven itself? The conflict ended with Kurt's mortal life being restored by his voluntary exile from heaven to stop his father from having access to the eternal paradise. But Kurt's heroism carried a cost. And amid celebrating with his friends after his resurrection, we also learned Nightcrawler's actions had left him without a soul. And lastly, in number 6, Nightcrawler was almost a DC character. Whether you choose DC or Marvel is still one of the most divisive issues in the world of comics, so it might be difficult to find fans who support both companies, let alone heroes that have ties to both groups. However, Nightcrawler is one of the few heroes whose origins can be traced back to Marvel's adversaries. Dave Cockrum, Nightcrawler's creator, originally pitched Kurt to DC as a part of their team, the Outsiders, but his inclusion ultimately wound up being rejected. One man's garbage is another man's treasure, and the blue-skinned mutant instead made his debut for Marvel in May of 1975. When Cockrum started working on the X-Men comics, Nightcrawler's appearance, which might have been off-putting for an ordinary hero, suddenly made for an intriguing mutant. The rest was history. While we'll never know what could have been, it's certainly interesting to think of the sort of stories Kurt could have been involved in with DC if things had worked out a bit differently. Nightcrawler is an odd character. Though his appearance may fool some of the more casual fans of the X-Men, Kurt Wagner, otherwise known as Nightcrawler, is actually one of the good guys. And despite his demonic appearance and lineage, Kurt is actually one of the only openly devout members of the Marvel Comics landscape, much less the X-Men team. And so there you have it, Marvel fans. Facts about our beloved devout Catholic Kurt Wagner. How about you? Do you have any fun facts about Nightcrawler that I missed mentioning? Leave a comment below. And before we end this video, please do consider tapping the subscribe and notification bell to remind you of my videos. Also, since you made it this far, please don't forget to like this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video, Marvel fans. Bye-bye.